live. All right. I finally figured out how to read the comment history. The problem is I was trying to read the comment history on my phone, which does not work. But I can read the comment history on the browser, on the YouTube portal. All right, let's find this thing. Why don't I see the live stream here? I think it's working. So I don't know if you heard me say this before. I finally figured out how to read the comments, the archive comments, so they don't disappear and I can't answer them. So that was kind of a relief. Let me pull that up. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Pop out the chat. Boom, there it is. Hey everybody, how you doing? I had so much fun doing the live Q&A yesterday. And it's 9:30 at night and everyone's asleep and it's quiet and I won't be interrupted. And I figured let's give it another shot. Also got a ton of great questions that came in. And I figured out how to read the chat history without them disappearing. So it'll actually be a lot more enjoyable for me because I won't feel like I'm constantly asking people to repost their questions. And I have 3 computer screens in front of me, by the way. That's why I'm always going like this. So let's see. Yeah, if you guys just want to start throwing up questions, go for it. And otherwise, I'm going to go through a lot of the comments and questions that came in after the live streams yesterday, just the comments that were posted to the videos themselves, because there were some really good ones. So let me pull those up. Have you seen Martys' new video this evening? Oh, just this evening? I saw one. I thought it was first thing this morning, or maybe it was late last night. Sometimes the days just start blurring together. I didn't. They've been very short. If there's a new one this evening, I didn't see it. They've been very short, like 3 to 7 minutes long. And they honestly have not been terribly interesting. I don't even just say that to be critical. Like, he's not talking about any new interesting stuff. If there was any big bombs that he dropped, let me know and I'll comment on them. But it's pretty obvious to me the Church of Scientology is producing those videos. They're shot just like a Golden Era Productions video, which is the filmmaking unit of the Church of Scientology. And so, yeah, I do think Marty has agreed to cooperate with the church. In fact, we already know Marty's agreed to cooperate with the church. Tony Ortega's pointed out on his blog that Marty has already turned over emails to church attorneys that were occurring between him and other former Scientologists. And Marty turned over emails to the church that were potentially damaging to this person who was engaged in some sort of a lawsuit with the church. So I'm sorry. That is just, to me, hands down proof that he's struck some sort of a deal with the church, whether it was a deal to take money from them or whether it was a deal to cooperate in exchange for his family not being harassed. Who can say? All I can say is that if Marty were to have entered into an agreement that required taking money from the church, he would be inviting in a whole world of trouble. His lawyers were working for him on a contingency basis. His lawyers were entitled to a percentage of any money that he settled with the church for, and he fired his lawyers before deciding to play nice with the church. So his former lawyers are not dumb. They are very smart, and if they suspect Marty has taken money from the church, his former lawyers will be the ones who start making his life a hell. Anyway, I don't know what I can say about Marty other than what I've said. All right, what am I looking for? I'm getting all confused over here. All right, I'm looking for the comments that came in over the last 24 hours. All right, I'm just going to work backwards. Okay, so here's one that came in. Okay, in the live streams that I did yesterday, I did not come out and definitively say Scientology is not worse than other religions. But I did delve into that conversation. I think it is more nuanced. It's not responsible enough to just make a blanket statement that Scientology is worse than other religions. There are ways that Scientology is worse and there are ways that it isn't. It's also not nuanced enough to just say it's wrong of you to make that comparison because Scientology isn't a religion. Feel free to pipe up in the comments section. But anybody who feels Scientology isn't a religion, I want to hear your reasons for it. Because I agree that Scientology should not have tax-exempt status. Hey, how's it going? But I do think Scientology is a religion. My bar for what I call a religion might not be as high as other people's bar. In other words, I think we're not arguing over concepts, we're arguing over definitions. And so that's the context for this comment. It says, would you say it's a damn cult? No, it is a cult. That's fine. Again, we're not arguing over concepts. We're arguing over definitions. So here's the comment that I'm going to read. Would you say that what makes Scientology more of a cult is that it only releases its core beliefs and origination story, Xenu, etc., only after you pay tens of thousands of dollars and they string you along with this carrot, and at the end of the stick, OT3, they coerce you to spend all your money to get superpowers that don't actually exist? In this way, is it very different from most religions I know of that don't aggressively try to persuade you to give up all your money to save yourself and the world from imaginary problems in order to improve your spiritual self? So, in order to answer a question like this, honestly, I've got to pick apart its pieces, right? Is it more of a cult in that it only releases its core beliefs after you've gone up the levels? That is not why I think Scientology is a cult. I think Scientology is a cult because of the insidious way it attempts to control every aspect of its members' lives. I don't think the fact that it has these secret teachings that are confidential, I don't think that makes it a cult, personally. I think the way it behaves and the way it treats people and the way it impacts families is what makes it a cult. And I've also been very clear. I'm not sure that my standards I'm using for why I call it a cult are even legitimate reasons why something is or is not a cult. I'm just telling you from my perspective, if Scientology behaved differently and acted differently, I probably would not feel compelled to call it a cult. So I would say no, the fact that it saves its secret teachings for the OT levels, to me, is not what makes it more of a cult. Okay, coercing you to spend all your money. Again, I run the risk here of, because I tend to want to push back against what I feel are inaccuracies, I come across looking like a church apologist, and I'm nothing. I am absolutely not a church apologist. I cannot get behind the blanket statement that Scientology coerces people to give over all of their money. I just can't really get behind that statement. Obviously, there are people who do go into bankruptcy because they give all the money they have and then more, and that's irresponsible of them. Do you think your brother would be speaking out if he was alive? Oh, absolutely. He was speaking out before he died. Bob Duggan, for example, is the wealthiest Scientologist. He's worth somewhere between 2 and 3 billion, or somewhere between 1 and 3 billion. He's given over $100 million to the Church of Scientology. He's the single largest donor to the Church of Scientology ever. And yet, he's only given a fraction of his income, his wealth. Most Scientologists I know have not given everything they have and more. You know what I mean? Like, most people aren't that stupid. Like, someone could say you have to be stupid to join a cult, but that would be an irresponsible statement. Somebody would have to be stupid to donate all their money. And yes, out of the people who join Scientology, there are those who are stupid enough to donate all their money. But there are also those who aren't that stupid, or who simply make so much money that they don't have to donate everything they have in order to keep the registrars happy. So again, I'm not trying to nitpick here, but I push back against this idea that Scientology in general coerces people to spend all of their money and tries to ruin them. I just don't agree with that statement. Do you see what I mean? My experience does not lead me to agree with that statement. In this way, to spend all your money to get superpowers that don't actually exist. Yeah, but look, from my point of view, I'm an agnostic atheist. Agnostic. I don't believe in a God. I don't believe in Jesus or Allah or whatever. So I believe all religions are false when they try to sell you in a belief in the afterlife and heaven and all this stuff. So I don't get extra down on Scientology for selling OT powers that don't exist than I would on Christianity for selling a belief in heaven. But again, I don't feel like I get down on any religions. I just don't happen to believe in them. And I'm just trying to be fair that I'm not going to dump on Scientology for selling things that don't exist when all religions sell things that don't exist. Okay. That for me is not what makes Scientology a cult. In this way, is it very different from most religions I know of that they don't aggressively try to persuade you to give up all your money? Well, Scientology doesn't aggressively persuade you to give up all of your money as a general statement. Like I said, there are those that do. There are people that will, and there are registrars that will push someone to cash in this and that and take a second mortgage out on this and that. And if you're going to cave into that pressure, that's kind of on you, in my opinion. To save yourself and the world from imaginary problems. Well, I think the problems that they're trying to save the world from are real problems. If you're talking about body thetans, then I get what you're saying. Those are imaginary problems. So I feel like I can't answer the question because I've pretty much destroyed every part of the question. I've already said I do think Scientology is a cult. I've already said nobody should join the Church of Scientology. Even if I'm willing to sit here and say there are parts of Scientology auditing at the lower levels that are helpful and can help people be happier and whatever. To me, the benefits that could be attained on the lower levels do not justify joining the Church of Scientology because of the overall damage that can be done at the higher levels, and particularly the damage that can be done to your friends and family, depending on how deep your involvement gets. Okay. Next comment here. Actually, let me make sure none have come in here that need answering. I've seen most every documentary on YouTube I could about this. Yep, that's awesome. Leah is amazing. My family loves her. Leah is great. I didn't know that. Dun, 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 dun. Do you think... I didn't know that. Do you also donate millions? Okay, so I didn't donate millions because I spent all of my time in Scientology working for the Church of Scientology. Even still, I still donated $15,000 of my own money. Cash. That was, realize I was working for the Church of Scientology from the age of 12 years old to the age of 26 full time. Only during a portion of that tenure did I actually have a day job where working at the church was my nights and weekends job. My day job that I had while I was in Scientology, I think at the peak, I was earning $40,000 a year. Now realize I was 20 years old at that time, so that's not terrible, particularly, 20 years ago. I was able to buy a house when I was 20 years old, making that money. I had perfect credit, had a steady job working for Blue Cross Blue Shield, So, in the last 4 years I was working for the church, I was in the Sea Org. So you don't have a day job if you're working in the Sea Org. The Sea Org is your day job, it's your night job, it's your weekend job, it's your full-time job. So, well, that was just the answer to the question is, did you donate millions to Scientology? No. I donated $15,000 of money and 15 years of my life. That is what I did. Okay, here we go. Just a footnote. Unlike other words designating a particular religion, the word Jew is one of only words designating a religion and a race. Okay, so I was talking about how there are a lot of Jewish people in Scientology. And this is actually just a comment on that, so it's not actually a question. Okay, I'm going to try to pick the comments that are critical of things that I said, because I like to open up the conversation and either clarify things I said that maybe were misunderstood, or just to further explain positions that I hold. Let's see, something came in. I've been watching you guys on the show. Hey, well, hi Tyson, thanks for watching. All right, see you, man. Okay, so this comment came in. How can you say that Scientology is not worse than other religions? Other religions merely request 10% of your income, and banishments virtually never happen today. Well, I'm going to stop right there. Other religions merely request 10% of your income. I believe an example of what you're talking about is the Mormons that have a 10% tithing system. So it's not true that they only request 10%. That's an automatic 10%. That's like a tax. That's an instant tax. Everyone's supposed to pay it up front no matter what. Scientology does not have such a tax. You could be a Scientologist and not give Scientology any money for several years if you chose not to. You don't have to be paying for courses and auditing every day in order to be a Scientologist. And also, it's not accurate to say that just because a Mormon is tithing 10%, that they would not ever donate above and beyond that. So it's not an accurate comparison. It's not accurate to say that Scientology automatically requires more than 10% of your money, and it's not accurate to say that other religions that set up tithing only request 10% of your money. Banishments virtually never happen today. I don't know what religion this Willsville 1988. That is simply not true in the Jehovah's Witnesses religion. Their version of disconnection happens all the time, and even in my extended family, I know of many instances of it happening, and it is just as bad, or damn near just as bad as the disconnection in Scientology. Again, I sound like an apologist, but that's only because I don't like to let inaccuracies stand. I think my goal here is just to have an honest conversation about the subject, and it's not my intention to be an apologist. I'm just saying it like it is. Scientology wants all of your income. It's just not true. I'm not going to support that statement. Including your body, and will ruin you as a person until they get it. I just can't get behind statements like this. It's just not accurate. It doesn't mean that what this person's describing has never occurred. Sure, it's occurred. But that's not the experience of what it means to be in Scientology or to be a Scientologist. You can be a beggar and be a part of other real religions. The part of that statement that I push back against is be a part of. If you're a Christian just because you say you're a Christian. If you study the Bible and you read the Bible and you believe in the Bible, you can call yourself a Christian. You could technically do that. So if you had a homeless person who just, loved the Bible, loved Jesus, and he called himself a Christian, that would be, you could be a beggar and be a part of another real religion. Well, technically, you could be a homeless person and just love L. Ron Hubbard's books. You pick them out of the trash behind your local library, and you call yourself a Scientologist. So by being a part of Scientology, I think this comment implies you're actively paying for auditing and courses in a Church of Scientology. But the truth is, you could just read L. Ron Hubbard books for free and not go into a Church of Scientology and call yourself a Scientologist, and that would be just fine as well. So again, it says you can be a beggar and be a part of other real religions, but you can hardly say the same about Scientology. Well, I disagree. I did just say the same about Scientology. Now, the Church of Scientology may not want to have anything to do with you if you're a homeless person that's reading L. Ron Hubbard books, but that's not the definition technically of a Scientologist. If you believe in Scientology and you try to use Scientology to help yourself and help others, you can call yourself a Scientologist. Okay, here's a real dickhead comment that somebody left. Did this guy just give a pass to a 14-year-old having sex with a grown-ass man? Married or not, that's wrong. Oh, God. Anyway, my comment just called this guy a troll. I was explaining that I had seen somebody, more than one person, on social media recently say that Scientology advocates for statutory rape because Scientology has this idea that children are just immortal souls in small bodies. In other words, adults in small bodies. And I was simply saying how I could not support the statement that Scientology advocates statutory rape. And that there are cases that you hear of in the Sea Org particularly, where premarital sex is not allowed, where you hear of very young girls, I don't know if 14 is really accurate, I think maybe 15, getting married to older guys. And my only point was that if you are married, it is not statutory rape. That's all I said. I wasn't saying it was normal or right or anything for a 55-year-old dude to marry a 14-year-old girl. Never said it. So I'm not, it's just a straw man argument. I didn't give someone a pass. I was talking about the legal definition of statutory rape, and that's all. Okay. Next. Are midgets or dwarfs allowed in Scientology? Or are they only seen as being SPs? Well, David Miscavige is in Scientology, and he's a midget. Midgets and little people or whatever would not be considered suppressive people. Have I said anything to create the impression that that would be the case? I hope not. No, I do not know of any little people in Scientology other than David Miscavige. But it's not for any particular reason that I know of. All right, let's see. What else we got here? Not all religions ask for 10%. Yeah, that's true. Some Christian churches preach tithes. That's true. Did you ever have uncomfortable feelings about Scientology as a child? Yes. So I don't remember what brought this about, but I remember when I sort of realized, when it sort of occurred to me, it dawned on me, that in Scientology, I would have to tell someone all of my deepest, darkest, worst, most closely held secrets. And there was a very specific point, I remember this, I was not much older than 6, 7, 8 years old, when I said to myself, oh yeah, that's not going to happen. I was like, oh no. No, I'm going to have to live a life of deception, I guess, because I am never going to be cool with just telling some stranger, oh, hey, you know what? The thing I would be most embarrassed of anyone ever knowing about me is, oh, yeah, let me tell you. And I remember being like, oh, shit, what am I going to do? I feel trapped. I feel trapped because I don't want to have to do that. And yet that's what auditing is. And yet this bridge to total freedom is supposed to be what everyone's doing, but you have to get auditing to go up the bridge, and you have to tell your secrets to get auditing, and oh my God, I'm trapped. I absolutely remember having thoughts like that. In terms of auditing, what kind of questions are actually asked? I'm not talking about sec checks, though, just auditing as you work your way up the OT levels. Okay, again, I get the first part of your question. There's many kinds of auditing. And as you work your way up the OT levels, well, the OT levels are different because that's all about body things. I think you mean as you work your way up the bridge towards clear. Because after clear, what comes between clear and the first OT levels is just a bunch of sec checking. So let me try to answer your question. The main portion of the lower bridge is called the grades. You have grade 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You also have a grade below grade 0 called ARC Straightwire. These are very simple, innocuous questions. The ARC Straightwire is about memory. So really we're talking about questions like, recall a time you felt affinity for yourself, recall a time you felt affinity for another, recall a time others felt affinity for others, recall a time others felt affinity for you, over and over and over again until you're like, oh my God, I just realized something fucking wonderful. Okay, you could have, ARC stands for Affinity Reality Communication. So you can have, for the communication part of it, recall a time you communicated with others, others communicated with you, others communicated with others, you communicated with yourself, over and over and over. So these are very simple questions, nothing weird. Let's say for problems, recall a time you created a problem for another, another created a problem for you, others created problems for others, you created a problem for yourself. It's very simple questions like this. There's nothing very deep to them. There's nothing very complicated. There's nothing particularly embarrassing. For grade 2 that talks about basically transgressions. It could, there's tons and tons of processes, but they are all kind of like that. What are you withholding? How about that as a question? What are you withholding? Now that sounds like a sec check question because you're asking someone for something bad that they've done. The difference between being asked this question, what are you withholding, when you're in an auditing session on grade 2, the difference between that and getting a sec check is that if you answer up in a sec check, you can get in trouble for what you say. In an auditing session, you're not allowed to get in trouble for what you say. So if you say, what are you withholding? What are you withholding? What are you withholding? What is another withholding? What are others withholding? It's just sort of a therapeutic exercise and whatever. So maybe one day I'll actually just come do a live stream, and I'll take the actual bulletins that give all the auditing commands and just read a whole bunch of examples. Because what you've asked there, Melissa, is I think one question that is so relevant to the conversation of Scientology that you never hear discussed on any shows or documentaries about Scientology. No one, other than shit about Xenu and sect check questions, nobody ever actually just says these are auditing questions and this is what happens in auditing sessions. I think most of the world who pay attention to Scientology thinks that sect checks is Scientology. Like, that's all there is to Scientology, is trying to interrogate people and get all the dirt on them. And the truth is that under David Miscavige, that is kind of what Scientology has devolved into. David Miscavige isn't infatuated. He's transfixed with sect checks and sect checking people and finding their crimes and stuff. Oh, processes is just a name for an auditing command. A process, like an auditing process and an auditing command and an auditing question. So an auditing command would be, recall a time you did blah, 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 blah. An auditing question would be, can you recall a time you did blah, 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 blah. And both a command and a question could both simply be called a process. All right. Yesterday there was 100 people on this live stream. How can there be 7 people on the live stream? You're a wonderful 7 people. I'm not complaining. I just feel like something's wrong. Like something went wrong with the Twitter alert or something. Okay, so let's go on to some other stuff. Other questions here. By the way, I had to switch to YouTube to see the video. What does that mean? Oh, you mean Twitter wasn't working or something? Let me see. That's okay. I won't even check it out. Oh no. All right, here we go. Is Monique Yingling from the same family that owns Yingling Lager Breweries? No. Okay, Melissa, you asked the question yesterday. Here we go. It looks like some former Scientologists who were on staff are doing okay financially. Let me bring it over here so I can look somewhat at the camera. Of those raised in Scientology, how do you think they are able to obtain decent employment? Or is this perception skewed by the media attention former Scientologists are getting? Sorry if this doesn't make sense. Clarify for me what you mean by, is this perception skewed by the media attention former Scientologists are getting? Are you saying, does it look like former Scientologists are disproportionately successful or disproportionately unsuccessful? But here's my answer. Just because you spend 20 or 30 years working for the church doesn't mean you're fucking retarded. Like, working for the church, well, as you know, as many people know, working for the church is not much different than working for a business. And, in fact, working for the church is very much like working for a business. And, Marty's unemployable, not because he is an idiot after being in Scientology for 35 years. He's unemployable because of everything the church has done to harass him. If he were to go work for someone, the church would target that business to damage that business. They did that with Mike Rinder. Mike Rinder was working for an inventor, and he was helping hook this inventor up with manufacturing and distributing and acquisition companies. And they were having a private meeting in a hotel. And a fucking Freedom Magazine news crew busted in with cameras and lights and a microphone and interrupted this meeting, and completely destroyed the deal, blew the deal apart. It took years to put the deal back together and get it done. And so that's what Marty means. He cannot go out and put another company at risk by working for them and putting them on the radar of the Church of Scientology. Marty's actually, when he's not acting like an insane person, would be a very skilled manager or an executive, and he was in Scientology for a very long time. So I, for example, a lot of people ask me, why did you turn out so normal? Why do you seem like you turned out so normal? Why, I've always felt this way, even when I was in Scientology. I'm not different talking to you today than I was when I was in Scientology. I just no longer believe what I believed when I was in Scientology. I was a very successful executive in Scientology. Scientology has hundreds and thousands of pages on how to administer and manage businesses, and it's not all bullshit. It's not all based on Xenu and Thetans and the reactive mind. There are just actual management procedures that you learn about and practice in Scientology that do have translation into the real world. And I would have to just point myself out as an example of how that's true. Like, by the time I left the Sea Org, I was 26. I was 26 years old. I'd spent 15 of those years working full-time for the Church of Scientology. I did not graduate from high school. I did not even start high school. My public formal education ended after the 7th grade, and yet I'm highly literate. I have pretty good communication skills. My business does research for Wall Street hedge funds. I have a decent aptitude. I have a desire to learn and a capacity to learn, and that's how I've been able to do what I've done is, So, for example, when I was working for the church in Philadelphia, the day came and I'm like, I need to get a day job because I need to pay me some bills because I need to get my own place and a car. And I was like, okay, well, how do you get a job when you don't have a diploma? You don't have a resume. You don't have references. So I went into the temp agency. And, of course, I went in all dressed up, snazzy, clean, shirt and a tie and everything. And I go into the temp agency. And they're immediately basically falling all over themselves to get me a job because I'm very presentable. I have good communication skills. I'm clearly smart. But then you have to take tests, like tests on Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and PowerPoint and stuff like that. And I didn't already know how to use these things. So they have tutorials. The temp agency itself had tutorials because the temp agency wants you to do well on these tests. They want to place you in positions. The temp agency gets paid when they get you a job. So I said, okay, let me take the tutorials. So I take the Microsoft Word tutorial, the Microsoft Excel, the Microsoft PowerPoint, and I take them like 2 or 3 times. Because in Scientology, to pass the test, you have to get 100%. That's really the passing. When you finish a course and you take a test, you're supposed to get 100. And so I was used to always having to get 100%. And so I'm going over these tests, I'm going over these tutorials. I take the test, I get like a 90 or a 95, and I'm like bummed out. I'm like, fuck, should I take it again? And they looked at me like, are you kidding? Nobody gets 90% on these tests. So I just had this unrealistic standard of what I was supposed to obtain because of what I was accustomed to in Scientology, that it sort of gave me an advantage over the other people my age in the job market at that time. I also already had experience managing dozens and hundreds of people. That does something for a person's ability to just confront things and be willing to deal with things and understand people. If you can understand people and how they react to things and why they react that way to things, that's a very mature quality in a younger person, is to feel like they understand people and to have good communication skills and to be able to listen well and to be able to acknowledge well, to be able to make eye contact comfortably. There's nothing more annoying than someone that's talking to you and has to look at the ground every fucking 10 seconds or something. So basically, these guys, this temp agency, after they would place me in a job. And when you're getting a job through a temp agency, you don't have to interview. You don't have to do that stuff because it's just a temp position. So what I would do is they would get me into temp positions, and I would do really well on the positions, and the hiring staff and the other staff would like me and like my work and like what I was doing, and then they would want to hire me. You're always at a disadvantage, and I never enjoyed being in a position of having to go interview like, I would like this job, please, and let me tell you I'm a good candidate for this job. I've never gotten a job that way, and I never would, because it's very hard when you're trying to sell them on why they should hire you. So getting a job, for me as a staff member, getting a job through a temp agency was perfect, because they get a chance to get a taste of who you are, and then they want to hire you. And then all you've got to do is say yes. You know what I mean? Because also I was used to working for nothing. So I was not the kind of guy who was going to show in and try to, hard negotiate for an extra $5,000 or $10,000. I was just happy to have a regular job. I was like the best model employee. I was willing to work hard. I was willing to do things that were not in my job description. I was willing to do whatever they wanted me to do because I was used to doing a lot of shit for nothing. And also the fact that I didn't consider that my day job was my main job. I considered working for the church was my main job. I considered that my day job was just my second job. It also helped me not take the job so seriously. You know, I think when people take things very seriously, they get all wrapped up in who's making more money than them and how come they didn't get a raise or a promotion or how come they just don't get the respect they deserve or whatever. I didn't give a shit about any of that stuff because my day job was just the job to pay the bills, and what I was really doing was working at the church. So, you know, I know that, you know, for some of these guys, these executives who were working at international management for like 40 years, other than Mike, I don't know what their trajectory has been to make money. But for example, anybody can become a realtor and do well in real estate. Anybody who has any sales experience in Scientology can become a salesman at pretty much any business and do okay. It's just not hard to find gainful employment when you have an extremely strong work ethic, you're willing to work long hours for low pay, and you're willing to pay your dues, get in at the bottom levels and work hard and, you know, work your way up. Ron Miscavige Jr., David's brother and Ronnie Sr.'s son. He's a highly successful real estate broker in Virginia, with scores, if not hundreds, of real estate agents under him. And Ronnie spent a long time at international management on the post of marketing executive international. I mean, he's read every word L. Ron Hubbard ever wrote on the subject of sales and marketing. Now, you can think that L. Ron Hubbard was just an idiot and never wrote anything of any value, but you would be selling him short and you'd be missing the point. Even if L. Ron Hubbard stole everything he ever wrote from other people, he still wrote about it. And if he stole from other people, let's just say that most of the stuff he stole was still relatively helpful or workable information. And the fact that you're studying it in Scientology and you do believe it comes from L. Ron Hubbard and you do think it's the gospel and you are going to learn it until you know every word of it forwards and backwards, you are at least going to become competent in what he wrote on the subject. And so Ronnie Miscavige is a great example of that. He read everything L. Ron Hubbard ever wrote on the subject of sales and marketing. And say what you will about L. Ron Hubbard, you have to agree he was a salesman. He was he was a very successful salesman. And also Ronnie Miscavige had an extraordinary amount of executive management training within the Scientology paradigm. So he was able to translate that into meaningful success as a real estate broker. So that's just an example. The work ethic of SEER members is incomparable. It's true. Do you think your time in Scientology really helped you in terms of job skills? Oh, I do think that. Absolutely. I do think that. Now, just realize I'm also aware that I don't have any way to compare how my path went for me to and how it turned out for me with how things would have turned out if I went an alternate path. So I can't swear that the way I turned out and the way things turned out for me are absolutely the best possible way that could have ever gone for me in my life. It would be stupid of me to claim that. But when I say yes, do you think your time in Scientology really helped you in terms of job skills? Here's why I say yes. I've spent a lot of time in the job market, in the marketplace. I mean, I worked in the real world for years when I was in Scientology, and I've worked in the real world for the last 11 years since leaving the C organization. And I've worked at companies that were owned and operated by Scientologists, and I've worked at companies that were not. I know what it is that employers value in employees. It is not a diploma. Sometimes they require a diploma, but that's not what they value. They value hard work. They value honesty. They value competence and aptitude, and they require. Did I say require? They value. They value no drama, no bullshit, and they value quickness. People who don't have to ask you 10 times what you meant or whatever. Now, someone could go, well, did you really get that from Scientology, or maybe you had that all along? I don't know. I started working for the church when I was fucking 12. So I don't know. But I do know that in Scientology, there is a lot of emphasis and focus on those being good qualities and people strive to achieve those qualities. So that's why I sort of relate it to, yes, they had translation into real world job skills. Does it feel strange to use the principles from L. Ron Hubbard in real world work now that you're out of the church, or is it easy to compartmentalize it? Oh, it's a piece of cake to compartmentalize it. For example, I think you probably know about the World Institute of Scientology Enterprises. So that is the section of the Scientology Church that takes everything LRH wrote about managing organizations, and they put it into course packs designed for non-Scientologists. So they take out all the Scientology words, and they sell these course packs to non-Scientology business owners. It's like $30,000 for 9 short courses. So that's one of the reasons why I also say, yes, these skills or this information translates into the real world, because non-Scientology business owners pay really good money to study this stuff. And a lot of those guys have gone on to have great success in their businesses putting this information to work. Again, I sound like I'm advocating for it. I'm not advocating for it. I would never suggest that someone join Scientology so that they can get the information they need to expand their business. No, I wouldn't do that. But I'm not going to deny that it is very possible to take that information and put it to real world use with success. Were you on staff? Did you have to pay for those courses if you took them? So if you were on staff, you're not allowed to take those courses. Those courses are not delivered in churches of Scientology, the WISE courses. Those courses are delivered by WISE consulting businesses, which have a licensing agreement with WISE, the World Institute of Scientology Enterprises, which is a Sea Org organization. WISE is staffed by Sea Org members. These businesses pay the church 15% royalty to be able, for the privilege of selling these courses to non-Scientologists. So if you're in Scientology and you're a staff member, you're supposed to study the real course. You're not supposed to study the non-Scientology version. The non-Scientology version is only for non-Scientologists. So I think that answers that question. Do you find it... Wow, well, that really sucked. The connection dropped, so whatever. Do you find it hard not to speak Scientologese? No. I find it a piece of cake to not speak Scientologese. When I'm talking to other former Scientologists, I actually prefer to speak in Scientologese. When I'm talking to people who are not in Scientology, I can turn that on and off in a heartbeat, because it's also extremely easy for me to explain any Scientology concepts or whatever I was in normal words. It's not a challenge for me. 15% of 30,000. Yeah, 15% of 30,000, but these companies sell a lot more than $30,000 a week of service. Some of these companies are doing $200,000 a week of business. The World Institute of Scientology Enterprises probably introduces more people to Scientology and gets more people into Scientology, particularly professionals, chiropractors, dentists, certified financial, is it not CFAs, but there's another certification these days. I mean 30,000 per person. Yeah, and it's so check this out. So not only does the Scientology consulting company sell these courses for like, $30,000 for a handful of courses, but then eventually, if that guy's having trouble with his business, the spiel is to say to him, look, the problem is not your business. The problem is you. And these courses are only designed to help you with your business and to help you as a manager, but they're not designed to help you become a better person. And the reason you're having trouble with all this information, the reason you're having trouble with your business, is because there are things about you that are not right. And Scientology can help you with that. And that's how they get the person into Scientology. And then that WISE company who got the guy into Scientology then gets 10% of everything that guy ever gives to Scientology. Not kidding at all. So the WISE company is selling these non-Scientology courses or this Scientology information to non-Scientologists. The church is getting a cut of that business. And then when the company gets the guy into the church, the company gets a cut of that business. So it's pretty good work if you can get it. All right. Let's see. can you please... Okay, when you were on staff, did you have a lot of contact with the general public while performing Scientology work? Do you mean the general non-Scientology public or the general Scientology public? Just clarify that. And of course, all of this is legal between WISE and the CFS. Oh, it is legal. It is legal. Just waiting for you to clarify that question about, are you talking about the general non-Scientology public or the general... So, no, I did not have contact with the non-Scientology public. Non-Scientologists. Meaning, in my day-to-day life, I did. But my job in Scientology was to supervise the major courses, to supervise the major course room. There's supposed to be 2 course rooms in a church. It's supposed to be the introductory course room, where the introductory courses are done. And those courses, they're also stripped of a lot of the complicated terminology. And they're reading little booklets instead of L. Ron Hubbard's policy letters and bulletins. And those people are supposed to get kept in a separate course room so that they're not introduced to the more heavy-duty, weirder stuff, like people screaming at each other doing TR0 Bull Bait or whatever. Or, people holding teddy bears and e-meters. So my job was to supervise the major course room. And there are no non-Scientologists in the major course room. I never had the job of selling people Scientology or body routing people into an organization or anything. I just had nothing to do with introducing people to Scientology. It was never something I had to do, and it was never something I wanted to do. Okay, what was your daily schedule like? On staff or in the Sea Org? Body routing is the people... If you ever see Tony Ortega's blog, he'll put up photographs of people in uniforms standing on the street corners around L. Ron Hubbard Way in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, handing out little tickets to free movie screenings or pamphlets in Scientology, trying to engage them in a conversation and trying to literally, once they get the person's agreement to whatever, walk them into the Scientology org to take a test or see a film. That's called body routing. Okay, well, this is going to be a very simple answer. When I was in Philadelphia, my daily schedule would be wake up very early, take a bus for 45 minutes into Philadelphia from South Jersey, start course, open up the course room at 9 o'clock, supervise until 12, take lunch from 12 to 12:30, have staff meeting from 12:30 to 1, start up course again from 1 to 3:15, or 3:30, take a 15-minute break from 3:30 to 3:45, start up course from 3:45 to 6, take a 30-minute lunch break from 6 to 6:30, have staff meeting from 6:30 to 7 o'clock, open up the course room again from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., and then get a 10:20 bus home for the 45-minute bus ride back to South Jersey, and then get home at 11 o'clock or whatever, 11:15, 11:30, and go to bed and do it all the next day, 6.5 days a week. It was actually much easier joining the Sea Org, because in the Sea Org, you don't have a job, you don't have a car, you don't have bills, you don't have anything to worry about. And so in the Sea Org, it was more like wake up, get dressed, walk downstairs, eat, walk across to the building, work, work until 12, have a 20-minute lunch, have a staff muster, go back to post, work, have a 25-minute dinner break, have a staff muster, go back to post, work until 11 o'clock. I mean, I'm not trying to be a smartass, but that's really what it is. That's all it is. Both in the staff and the Sea Org and others. What do you think is the current count of Scientologists worldwide? So I say 50,000. I think people who say 25,000 are underestimating it, and that's fine. In any way, you get the sense it's less than 70,000. Like by 50,000, I'm being generous. And here's how I come to those numbers. There are approximately 150 to 175 major Scientology organizations in the world. There are less than 200 Scientologists around every org. But just to be generous, let's say 200. 175 times 200 is 35,000. Okay? Let's add 6,000 for Sea Org members. That's 40,000. Let's add 5,000 from missions, which is a huge overestimate, but still. That's 46,000. So you're close to 50. I think 25 is just too few. 25,000 is too few. So if you say there's 175 orgs, 25,000 divided by 175, That's 150 people per org. It's probably too low. Now, let me clarify. I would agree that there's probably only 25,000 Scientologists who actually go on course or get audited. No, only if you had a day off. Well, I'm talking about for the Sea Org. For the Sea, you can listen to music or watch movies on your. Listen to music or read books on your breaks or before you go to bed or whatever. You can't just watch movies. That's considered slacking off. It's considered not doing your job if you're watching a movie. It also, because you go to bed so late, you finish your work so late in the Sea Org, if you were to stay up an extra 2 hours to watch a movie and then you weren't well rested for the next day, you're already not well rested. But if you were to be even less well rested than normal, you'd get in trouble if someone found out it was because you were watching a movie. Is the Sea Org only in Clearwater? Oh, no. The Sea Org's all over the world. There are Sea Org organizations in Clearwater, New York, Los Angeles, Toronto, Canada, Mexico City, Copenhagen, Denmark, East Grinstead, England, Sydney, Australia, and Kaohsiung, Taiwan, and Moscow, Russia, and maybe not Moscow. And Clearwater, Flag is located in Clearwater. Flag is just the name of the Church of Scientology here in Clearwater. Flag is short for the Flagland Base, and the reason Flag is in there is because what is now in Clearwater, the entity that is now in Clearwater that they call Flag, is the same entity that used to be located on the flagship Apollo, which was a ship that L. Ron Hubbard had that was like the main ship of the Sea Organization. You see, in the early days of the Sea Organization, it literally was ships, and the ships sailed all around, mainly so that the government wouldn't know where any of these Scientology organizations were. And so because the Apollo was the ship that L. Ron Hubbard, it was his ship, it was called the flagship. So the flagship Apollo, the flagship of the Sea Organization. So then when L. Ron Hubbard decided to move that organization onto shore, they called it the Flag Land Base. And that's why Scientologists just call it Flag. So tax evasion and stuff. Well, not wanting the government to find you was not due to the tax evasion. Not wanting the government to find you was, remember, like, Scientology is all about conspiracy theories. And Scientology is all about them versus us. And, L. Ron Hubbard wants Scientologists to believe that the governments of this world are terrified of Scientology and so are always going to be doing things to try to bring Scientology down, totally aside from tax issues. And so one of the things Hubbard said was that in order for the Sea Org to be effective, they had to be Fabian. Fabian means like ghostly, being able to disappear and reappear at will with people not knowing where you are. And so, I mean, I'm sure some tax issues had something to do with that. Also, L. Ron Hubbard not wanting to be able to be served with lawsuits had something to do with that. But again, that's also separate from the tax issues. And so there you go. Okay, what else do we got? Question, perpetuating the fear, absolutely. Question regarding your comments on the occult and Scientology. It seems that both Ron and Jamie DeWolf could not emphasize this relationship enough. What do you think that the correlation, why do you think that the correlation is overplayed when it seems to be the seed that started it all? So, I'll get over the overboarding thing in a moment. So, let's answer this occult question. I said in my last live stream that I think the occult thing is overblown. It's overblown because if it was an important part of Scientology, you would see it as a common thread running through everything L. Ron Hubbard said or wrote about the subject of Scientology. When this person says this is Aja Ward, when you said, why do you think that the correlation is overplayed when it seems to be the seed that started it all? Well, because it doesn't seem to me to be the seed that started it all. I would have to ask you to clarify for me what it is that you have read or heard that makes you think it seems to be the seed that started it all. The crux of Scientology is that we are all Thetans, immortal spiritual beings. That doesn't sound very occultish to me. I can't really reject what you're saying. I just don't have specifics to be able to address it. So if you happen to hear this, give me some specifics that I can discuss with you. So, okay, let's see. What do we have here? The mission here boasts having 450 members. Oh, that's completely insane. No Church of Scientology even has 450 members other than the biggest Sea organizations. Which mission are you referring to? And how do you know how many members they boast of having? Deanna Ross, when you were in the Sea Org, was there any form of overboarding? Great question. The answer is yes. Because there was no bodies of water to throw people into, people would have 5-gallon buckets of water dumped on their head. And that was considered the land-based version of overboarding people. It didn't happen often. I only probably heard of it happening 3 times in 4 years. And oddly enough, it was usually done to older people. And I don't know why that is. Tax evasion, perpetuating the fear. Deanna, what is overboarding? Oh yeah, overboarding is on the Apollo. They would literally, as a form of punishment, throw people overboard. Sometimes they would have their hands tied and feet tied and thrown in the fucking water. To me, that sounds terrifying. I consider myself a pretty good swimmer, and I'd be freaking out if I had I couldn't tread water with my hands and legs tied. So I don't know exactly how all that went down. I never heard of anybody dying, but it sure sounds scary. Also, it's like a 30, 40-foot drop or something. Like, I wouldn't jump off of a 30-foot diving board or a platform. That's very scary. All right. There has got to be a reason why both of my live streams yesterday had 100 people in it at any given time, and we're still at like 9. Maybe Monday night's just not a very popular time to jump online. That's possible. All right, let's see. The campus, University of Illinois, I went in. So you're near the Chicago org? I know the people in the Chicago org. And the Chicago org is smaller than the Philadelphia org. And the Philadelphia org, if we had a mandatory event that chairman of the board, David Miscavige himself, said was mandatory, all Scientologists must attend, we couldn't get 100 people to show up for an event if our fucking lives depended on it. So there is absolutely no way any Class 5 Church of Scientology organization, much less Chicago, which is a shitty org, has 450 members. Oh, not the Chicago org? Oh, I'm sorry. I must have the one on the campus at the University of Illinois. There's no Church of Scientology on the campus of the University of Illinois. Are you talking about a mission? Is it a mission? Scientology, the mission on the university. Oh my God, yeah. So here's what they mean if they say 450 members. See, that's the one thing about Scientology is the way they keep statistics and everything. You can figure out a way to use almost any number that you wanted. Like, that could mean 450 people have ever bought a book from them ever. It could mean 450 people have ever completed an introductory course at that mission ever. Or it could mean not 450 people, but that 450 courses have been completed there. It could mean that every person that has walked in the door who started a course automatically had like a free 6-month membership in the International Association of Scientologists, and that they've only ever had 450 people walk in the door and start a course. But even the Los Angeles Church of Scientology, the Class 5 one, where you're supposed to get into Scientology, does not have 450 members. Okay, I was overboarded on the Royal Scotsman. That's incredible. The chain locker wasn't fun either. I've heard about that. The chain locker is the room on a ship where the chain of the anchor is kept when the anchor is in. In other words, it's wet, it's dank, it's rusty, it's musty, it's gross, because it's not an area meant to be lived in. So a Class 5 organization is an organization that can train Class 5 auditors. Every normal Church of Scientology in the world is a Class 5 organization. By normal, I mean not a Sea Org organization. So if you're in Philadelphia, it's Class 5 organization. Chicago, Class 5 organization. Kansas, Class 5 organization. Austin, Class 5. Salt Lake City, Class 5. Portland, Class 5. Tampa, Class 5. Any of these normal Scientology organizations where the people that work there are not Sea Org members. They're called Class 5 organizations. And a mission isn't called a Class 5 organization because a mission is not allowed to train auditors, professional auditors. You can do the Dianetics auditor course, but you can't become a professional auditor at a mission. You can do all of the same auditing in a mission. You can receive all of the same auditing in a mission that you can receive in a Class 5 org, but you cannot do professional auditor training. So that's the answer to that question. There's an icon next to the title you have to click to make the video listed. I did, though. I did make this video public. Hold on. Let me make sure. No, I totally did. You're right, though. This must not be public. So let me try to do that. God, I'm going to feel so fucking silly if this whole time this video has not been listed as public. So it doesn't. God, I feel so silly. You got a notification? Okay, good. Yeah. See, when I actually go into my YouTube account here on my browser, it doesn't say that I'm streaming. Let me go to Twitter though. I know it's on the Twitter. The Twitter. I don't see it on YouTube. I just saw it on Twitter, but I couldn't watch it on Twitter. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on YouTube. And I'm just trying to figure out. I'm just trying to make sure it's actually set to public. It's unlisted! God damn it. Wow, I feel so silly, you guys. I just made it public. Wow. Now watch the subscriber count go up. Wow. What a dummy. Oh, it still says this video is unlisted. Only those with a link can see it. That can't be true, you guys. Anyway, I'm sorry to be fixated on this, but if it's not public, then that's not fun. Okay, more questions here. Why would someone be chain lockered? Yeah, just as a form of punishment. Can see on the phone as of now. I did not go to get a link. I didn't see it on YouTube. It's on Twitter, but not browser. I had the same problem. Falling asleep for being like, oh, for falling asleep, yeah. Still can't see it on YouTube. Hey, Debbie. I'm now live. I swear to God, I've been live for like an hour and just found out that I didn't click the public link. How ridiculous. All right, well, let's do this. All right, I guess, wow, I told you guys, there must be something wrong. It doesn't make sense. And I didn't, anyway, whatever. Okay, here we go. Back to answering questions. How were you recruited to the Sea Org? Great question. So, hello, la petite Marie. When I joined staff in Philadelphia, I went to Flag here in Clearwater for full-time study for a few years. And we were yelling at our screens, but you couldn't hear us. Oh, did people actually tweet that they couldn't? That something wasn't working right? Are you on live stream yet? Ah! Oh, I feel so fucking stupid. Guys, we've been going for like an hour. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I went to Flag to study full time for 3 years. And this is another thing where I'm not gonna, pull punches on this. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. My time at Flag was amazing. I had a great time here at Flag. It's one of the things that for me made it impossible for people to talk shit about Scientology to me and convince me, because my personal experience was so much different than what people mostly had to say about it negative. I very much was a fan of David Miscavige. I very much was a believer in L. Ron Hubbard and the humanitarian mission of Scientology. And by the time my training at Flag was over, I did not want to go home. I wanted to stay. In fact, while I was at Flag, I signed a contract for the Sea Org, and I wanted to stay. And so then I went home, but they wouldn't let me join the Sea Org because people that are there studying from outer orgs are expected to go back to their orgs. And if people from outer orgs, the staff members from outer orgs, if they go to Flag to study and then they stay forever, then orgs will no longer want to keep sending their staff members to Flag. So they wouldn't let me join the Sea Org. So I went back home and I did my thing. And I kept trying to join the Sea Org, but I had to recruit somebody to replace me. And it was very, very hard to recruit people onto staff. And so it never happened. And then it was many, many, many years later when I'd given up on joining the Sea Org and my staff contract was about to expire and I was going to leave staff, move to Hollywood, and live the good life. And one of my friends who I'd known as a child at the Philadelphia Org and who had gone off to join the Sea Org and had become a Scientology executive, a senior Scientology executive, she came back for a family wedding. And seeing her again and seeing that she was in the Sea Org and she had a high post and she was a lieutenant commander, and she's like, well, would you like to join the Sea Org? And I'm like, yeah, but I know that's not going to happen. Anyway, she figured out how to make it happen. And about a week or two later, I was in the Sea Org. And so that's the answer to that question. Why does the church continue to harass you and Mike and Leah when all three of you have said there are good things in the C of S? Because they're fucking stupid. I mean, really. Everything they do reinforces everything that is said about them. Like, how stupid can you be? Well, it might say 45 minutes, but if you remember, it restarted there for a bit. Like, I went live at 9:30. Okay, I think straight thoughts here. View count increasing. Thanks for the private chat on YouTube now. We're young on our screens. It tries the learning curve. Why does the church continue? Okay, so that was the most recent one. Yeah, I mean, even Leah says there are positive things about Scientology. And of course there are. Anyone who wants to make it so black and white and be like, everything about Scientology is bad, everything LRH said was a lie, he stole everything he ever did, that's not nuanced enough to be intellectually honest. And I'm glad that Mike and Lee are much more interested in being intellectually honest about this subject than they are in just being sensational for ratings. I think it's one of the reasons that Leah's show has been so well received. It's so obviously not just exploiting the sensationalistic aspect of Scientology. It is so obviously not just being outrageous for ratings. It is so fair. It is so examining unexaggerated examples of Scientology abuse that are very typical of the Scientology experience. The one criticism that I had of Going Clear is that, while all those stories were perfectly valid and accurate and true, they were also not very typical of a Scientology experience, aside from the disconnection between Sarah Goldberg and her family. That was typical. But the other stories were somewhat extraordinary. And those extraordinary stories are very easy for your average Scientologist to dismiss or believe is a lie. And it's one of the things that is so wonderful about Leah's show. Nobody can watch this show and think that these things are being made up. And any Scientologist watching these shows, and there are some, believe me, it would resonate with them, because they know these things are true. Or they've heard of someone else who this happened to, and they just figured that was a one-off situation or something. So I think I answered that question. Well, did I? Why does the church continue to harass you? Well, the church has policies as dictated by L. Ron Hubbard that says always attack never defend. Our critics have hidden crimes for which they could be jailed in this lifetime, and it is up to you to find them because they are always, always there. And, you know, even now I feel like I'm letting him off the hook a little bit, because I think a smart, intelligent Sea Org member could very easily figure out a reason to change the way these policies are implemented, and still within the context of Scientology make it okay. There is actually a policy letter L. Ron Hubbard wrote called Structure of Organization, What is Policy? That does give people the latitude and the freedom and the right to cancel old policy that used to serve a purpose on a particular time in a particular situation but no longer does, and cancel it. So even L. Ron Hubbard did put groundwork in place to get rid of his policies if they were no longer relevant. And David Miscavige uses that policy to justify making changes he decides to make. So the fact that these policies about harassment have not been changed is a testament to David Miscavige not wanting to change them. He really is a vindictive little fucking prick, and he really does like ruining people's lives when he feels that they have crossed him, and he can justify doing that because of LRH's policies. But he could change them if he wanted to, and he simply doesn't. Okay, next question. Have you seen the TED video that just came out today on why do people join cults? I do not. I have not. Email me a link. I could look it up, but I'll forget. Email me a link to it at growingupinscientology@gmail.com. I'll take a look at it. How do Scientologists not know about the Xenu story when the Dianetics book has a volcano on the cover? Well, come on now. Look at your question. If you look at a volcano, do you go, Xenu? No. We know that in the Xenu story, volcanoes have something to do with the story. But just because you look at a volcano doesn't mean you know the volcano has something to do with the Xenu. I was in Scientology for over 30 years. I never even heard the word Xenu until I left Scientology. The secret really can be that well kept. I promise you. Okay. Oh, by the way, how is Nick Lister, and will you be doing any more interviews with him? I will not be doing any more interviews with Nick Lister. I think he's still trying to get his life on track and find a sweet spot where he's doing well. Nick actually asked me to take down a whole bunch of the videos that I had up with him, and I was basically like, no, dude, I'm not going to take him down. Sorry, that's not how we play this game. Okay, thanks to Lee and Mike, I have a voice. Absolutely. Deanna, I don't know, have we ever met? Are you where do you live, Deanna? Or what state do you live in? I'm going to be in California next week. I'm going to be in Denver a couple weeks after that. And I don't know, if you're in the area, maybe we can get a coffee or something. Say what's up. Actually, are you going to be in season 2, Deanna? Is that what you mean? Or are you just saying they speak for you? How do okay, oh, by the way, how's Nick Lister? Okay, I answered that. Thanks to Lee and Mike, I have a voice. Yes. But they won't as long as DM is in charge. Okay. How difficult is it for ex-Scientologists to seek counseling and therapy, especially since they've been taught to reject psychiatry? It's hard, man. It's hard. I freely admit that I still have a button on that subject. I feel like it's one of the reasons maybe I haven't dived in and wanted to read more of John Atak's stuff is for some reason I associate John Atak with psychiatry. I don't know why. He's not a psychiatrist. I know many former Scientologists who are now in some sort of counseling or therapy. I'm not one of them. Someone could easily say that I should be. I don't see myself ever going down that route. Whereas it's true that I still have sort of a bias against it, I think it's also true that society at large does have a bias against it. And I think that's changed a lot over the last 20 years, but it still exists. It is certainly much stronger within Scientology and for former Scientologists. And I freely admit, I'm still, I don't judge people who are in counseling. I'm not still that wrapped up in the idea that therapy is bad. I definitely still have a thing though where I feel like, yeah, but I'm not going to do that. I don't know if that's just kind of like the macho, I don't need help, or I don't know how much of that is directly tied up into what I used to believe about psychiatry. I'm just not sure. It's just not something I'm actually interested in. Even though someone could easily say that I need it. Okay. All right, what's next here? I was born and raised in Hemet. Oh, very cool. Ended up moving to San Jacinto 6 years ago. I'm from San Jacinto and on the res in the Oaks, which used to be owned by Scientology. On the res. Does that mean on the reservation? There was a room in a side of the mountain and a ladder that led 30 feet down into the floor. White. Okay, that 30 feet down into the floor. White for all white walls. White for all white walls. There's also a crazy room in one of the hotel rooms they had built. 4 all white soft walls. Oh, you're gonna have to explain this to me. Okay, born and raised in Hemet, moved to San Jacinto. You're from San Jacinto. And on the res, okay, you have to clarify for me. What does on the res in the Oaks, which used to be owned by Scientology? I don't know what that means. What used to be owned by Scientology that you were in? A room in the side of a mountain. What mountain, what building, what room are you talking about? I'm not aware of Scientology owning a property near a mountain that they no longer own. Meaning they do own properties like that, but I'm not aware of one they used to own and now no longer do. And if there was a crazy room down there, I would just, devil's advocate here, how do you know they built it? Do you know what I mean? Like, what did the place used to be before the Scientologists owned it? I see you're answering, so I'll get back to your answers when I get down there. Will you do this again tomorrow night? Well, tomorrow I'm going to be in Los Angeles, and if I do have a setup in a space where I can do it, then yes, I will do this again tomorrow night. I'm going to try to do this every day. I mean, this is a lot of fun. I much more enjoy doing this live than sitting down talking to a camera for an hour and then having to edit it and upload it and all that shit. Why is Scientology targeting partnering with the Nation of Islam? Oh, God. I don't think it was strategic. Meaning I don't think Scientology said, hey, you know what we should do? We should do this. I think it was brought to them by Alfredi Johnson. Alfredi Johnson got Louis Farrakhan into Scientology. David Miscavige and Scientology did not pursue Louis Farrakhan. Reverend Alfredi Johnson introduced Louis Farrakhan to Scientology, and it snowballed from there. Have been out for a very long time. Watching Leah and Mike have brought all my feelings to the surface. Very thankful to all of you for speaking out. Well, thank you for watching. Both the show and the channel and everything. Okay, the Sabota Reservation. I'm Native American. They had a Castle Canyon School in the back of the reservation. Okay, good. So let me clarify. Castle Canyon School. Okay, I'm going to have to Google this. I was about to say that Castle Canyon School was sort of a boarding school owned by Scientologists, but was not the Church of Scientology. And I still think that is true. I'm looking at it right now. This is not a Church of Scientology thing. This is... Yeah, this is not a Church of Scientology thing. This is sort of a private... hold on. History... Castile Canyon School. Yeah, it's just not run by it's not a Church of Scientology facility. It had nothing to do with the Sea Org. It had nothing to do with the Sea Org cadets. They had Sea Org members. Okay, is it possible that this is where they sent Sea Org cadets to go to school? It's possible. I'm still going to say for right now... Okay, I need to Google this more. Castile Canyon School Scientology. Oh, it does say the Church of Scientology sold the property. Holy shit. Jenna Miscavige Hill attended the Castile Canyon School from 1990 to 1996. That's not true. I knew Jenna Miscavige from 1993 to 1996, and she lived here in Clearwater, Florida, so she was not going to that school. These facilities were nothing short of spectacular. They included classrooms, swimming pools. Okay, well look, I was fucking wrong. Jenna Miscavige Hill left the Church of Scientology over 6 years ago and has since been with a group of ex-Scientologists. Wow, this is a Scientology website. Oh, you're right. You're right. This was the Int Ranch? This was the Int Ranch. You are absolutely right. This is where the Sea Org member children of the children of Sea Org members at the international base were kept. Wow. There was a fucking padded room with 4 white walls down there, 30 feet down a ladder. Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ. Wow. If you have access to that school and those facilities, would you be able to take photographs of that and email them to me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com? That would be amazing. Thanks for pointing that out to me. I really appreciate that, Jordan. Is Marty Rathbun going to be on Leah's second show? Second season? No, Marty Rathbun's a fucking piece of shit traitor, and he's not going to be on Leah's show. They had Searg members. I believe David Miscavige's niece was there. You're right. Or Tori Magoo. I don't know. Tori Chrisman. I don't have any knowledge that she's going to be on season 2, but I also don't have any knowledge that she's not. I talked to him through Facebook. Okay. What are your thoughts on the recent Marty Rathbun videos? I've already answered this like 4 times, and I know you weren't here for my answer, but I'm just going to... I have the live streams posted from yesterday. There's 2 of them that I did, and I'm sorry just to tell you to listen to those, but for right now, just to listen to those. My recent thoughts are Marty is a piece of shit. How's that? That's my recent thoughts. Marty is mentally unstable, and he is a piece of shit. Okay. Marty abruptly and suddenly cut off all friendly communication with his genuine friends who were actually his friends. I don't mean people who just comment on his blog. I mean people who were actually his friends and cared about him and had provided him much help and friendship. And he immediately and abruptly cut them out of his life and started attacking them, sending them antagonistic emails and vaguely worded emails and all this shit. And then he cut ties with his lawyers, and then he dropped a lawsuit, and then he provided emails that he had with other former Scientologists to church lawyers that were then used against those people in court. So, Marty Rathbun is a rat piece of shit. Okay. Have you read about Camelot Castle in England? Yes, those guys are so weird. I mean, look, I know people think Scientologists in general are weird, but those people that are running Camelot Castle in England are like those are 2 of the weirdest Scientologists I've ever seen. Swear to God. There's no Sea Org connection. No, David Miscavige, I'm sure, is embarrassed by those guys. Believe me, David Miscavige does not suffer fools lightly, and those 2 are huge fools. Does it just seem familiar? It just seems similar. If you haven't seen their TripAdvisor reviews, are amazing. Those TripAdvisor reviews, I have seen them. They are very funny. My cousin's mom used to cruise the reservation when she was younger. She said she used to cruise down to the Oaks and see kids in the rain, hard labor all night. Also, yes, I can TBH. What does TBH mean? So the reservation owned that property even when the church... No, because it says the church sold it back to the reservation in 2000 or something. So what did you say? Your cousin's mom would actually see the kids there back then? That is really incredible. Vodka. Oh, it's a White Russian vodka and Kahlua, and I used milk instead of heavy cream. Good stuff. Delicious. Will you ever be traveling to Northern California? I would love to travel to Northern California. I want to go see the sequoia trees. I want to see the Big Sur. But I don't have any plans to. I'm going to be taking my kids to Washington, Idaho, and Montana this summer. I'm going to be in South California next week, and then I'll be in Denver a couple weeks after that. But I would love to go to Northern California. La Petite Marie. Johnny Jacobson has that Jenna went there. No, Jenna clearly did go there. They even talk about it on the Castile Canyon School website. Okay. Let's see. I also have some other serious stuff that happened like 2 months ago that I never mentioned to Tony Ortega because I don't know. He was just very direct, which I didn't mind. Johnny Jacobson, yep, that's fine. Like the other owners are CFS members, okay. Do you think Tom Cruise should be held more responsible for being part of Scientology and being so high profile? That's a really good question. I kind of go back and forth on this. I spent so long being such a Tom Cruise fan. And, do we hold Muslim celebrities accountable for acts of terrorism? No. It's a little different with Scientology because Tom Cruise has been so public in promoting it. I also think that Tom Cruise genuinely rejects a lot of the stories of abuse that he hears. I think he thinks that they are all exaggerated to make them worse than they really are. I gotta be honest. I don't think it's the entertainment media's job to put Tom Cruise on the defensive about Scientology when he's out promoting a movie. I guess I just don't hate Scientology as much as your average Scientology critic. I mean, I would never encourage anyone to join Scientology, but I don't hate it. I don't hate Scientologists. I don't think people should be harassed for being a Scientologist, and I don't think people should be challenged if they think Scientology helped them. Do you know what I mean? So, as I sit here right now in front of you tonight, I would probably say no. I don't give a shit if he's held more responsible for it, to be honest. Camelot Castle is insane. I agree. Why doesn't someone go undercover to Scientology church? First of all, many people have. Second of all, that is very difficult to do, and I would never encourage it. No one's gone very, very deep. You're going to get busted. You're going to get busted. Pictures can be taken whenever. Oh, to be honest, yes, please send me pictures. If there's really how big is this room? If it's really 4 padded walls at the bottom of a 30-foot ladder, and if you're saying that room was there when this property was owned by the Church of Scientology, send me some motherfucking pictures. Okay, can't go undercover in the C of S. Dun, dun, dun. Just trying to find where I was. You've described the Church of Scientology as preferring to handle law enforcement issues internally. True. Are you aware of any issue where the Church of Scientology has reached out to law enforcement with respect to one of its members? Yes, but it was something that had to be set up ahead of time. It had to do with a child who was molested, and for whatever reason, the decision was decided to contact the police, but not until the mother of the child, who was a Scientologist, had been brought in and spoken to by the ethics officer and told that they were going to alert the police, but that she was not to press charges. And in that case, the police were only contacted after the parents had agreed not to press charges. So there's that answer. What about Hubbard's surviving kids? Has anyone tried to get them to talk? Oh, yeah. His kids receive money from the church, so they're not supposed to talk. But there are 1 or 2 of his surviving children who are in touch with people who are out of the church and are not with the church anymore. But they're not supposed to appear publicly. They're not supposed to appear in the media. They're not supposed to publicly say anything bad about David Miscavige's Scientology or L. Ron Hubbard, or else they would stop getting money. And that's that answer. Okay, you said you did not move up the bridge because you didn't like auditing. Isn't this something that someone on staff would get in trouble for? Kind of. But realize that staff members don't tend to get a lot of auditing in general. And there are some, meaning they don't have opportunities to get auditing very often. And there are some staff members who really, 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 really want to get auditing. So when there's someone that needs to deliver auditing for a requirement on some sort of a course, there's always staff members lining up to get auditing. So all you have to do is not get in line. Like if I had said, I don't want to get auditing. If I'd actually said to someone, no, I don't want to get auditing. No, do not ask me to get auditing. I have no interest in getting auditing. Yeah, I would be on the trouble list for sure. What is the Denver thing? Tony Ortega is having a meetup in Denver. One of his readers is has organized and hosted just a get together for pretty much just people that read Tony's blog. I have family and friends in Denver that I wanted to get an opportunity to see, and I also want to do a live stream with Chris Shelton, who's a friend of mine. And so I figured, why not? If it was just for a meetup, I probably wouldn't bother going. But to be able to combine that into seeing other friends and family, it made it really worth it. So that's why I'm going. It's June 23rd is when it is. Yo! What is the Denver thing? Okay, I just answered that. I just can't spend any money in Tom Cruise movies because I think that I would be spending money in Scientology since Scientologists give a lot of money to the church. I get what you're saying. I do understand. Just realize Tom Cruise has hundreds of millions of dollars. And Tom Cruise probably has not even given $100 million to the church. So For every dollar that you spend on a movie ticket, how many pennies of that are going to Tom Cruise? I don't fucking know, but not enough to worry about, in my opinion. Are you ever going to let your neighbor dog sit, especially since the dog would not understand disconnection? I do not have to let my neighbor dog sit because Goliath, the fluffy dog... By the way, I tried to bring him in here tonight. He's still sleeping under the bed. He's the most popular dog in town. People would fight over the opportunity to dog sit him. Plus, my mom actually lives a block away, and she would dog sit him. One time, I asked someone where the C of S in Edmonton was, and the guy gave me directions that led to the Church of Christian Scientists. Oh yeah, people make that mistake all the time. There is a Church of Scientology in Edmonton, though. How is it that you were an auditor but did not have to be audited yourself? No, I did get auditing. I've received lots of auditing. Just not bridge auditing. So bridge, when I say still sleeping again. Okay, bridge auditing is, there's a lot of auditing actions that simply are not on the exact required steps to go up the bridge to total freedom. There's all sorts of auditing actions that exist that are done for specific purposes or on specific courses that do not actually get you any closer to clear or OT. I have had a ton of that kind of auditing. I just haven't had the kind of auditing that where you're going up Scientology's bridge to total freedom. Okay, when I googled Church of Scientology in Tulsa, there's no Church of Scientology in Tulsa. Okay. I think the newest episode of Leah's show was super well framed. I think you're talking about the 2-hour special. Kept it all in the tech and how the tech is the problem. I hope the season stays on that step because I think it's super effective. I totally agree with you. It definitely is had that consistent message that it's not just David Miscavige. It's not just any one interpretation or application of Scientology, that the body of material itself is flawed. And I thought it was a great special. Do you know about Stacey Murphy in Oklahoma? A whole bunch of people were asking me about Stacey Murphy yesterday. I do not know about Stacey Murphy in Oklahoma. Oh, she's the one that died at Narconon? In Narconon? Is that what that's about? Let me know. Okay, it's really weird. We bought it back and we never changed the rooms. We use all the use it for storage and old workout machines. Nice. Howdy con! Yes. Jaden Smith. Anyone ever wonder how he would have turned out with a normal education? Well, how do you know he didn't have a normal education? Oh, do you mean because he was homeschooled? Like, Jaden seems like... I shouldn't say too much about Jaden. He's... It is not healthy for kids to grow up in the public spotlight the way that he has, and, you know, I don't know what to say. I feel a little sorry for him. The Mummy is shockingly meh. I've heard the same thing. I heard just wasn't that great. Still sleeping or sleeping again. I better check on him. I actually tried to wake the dog up to bring him in here to say hi, and he was like, so I left him alone. I think I'm so hooked on Scientology because it really made me understand that every religion in modern society is very cult-like. I feel like it's very easy to manipulate a mass crowd, and I agree with you. Do you feel bad about outing your neighbor on the show? No, not at all. I mean, what did I out her as? A Scientologist? A dog disconnector? I don't even know if she knows she came up in the show. Which is scary, God bless. So, is there any news on Tommy Davis? Is he still a Scientologist? He's still a Scientologist in good standing. Yes, he is. I pretty much answered the question about Tommy Davis on every one of my broadcasts or Q&As or whatever. But the simple answer is yes, he is still a Scientologist. He actually hates David Miscavige, but he pretends to, as Stephen Colbert so delicately put it, he is still David Miscavige's cock holster. I love that phrase. Okay, what do you think of Tom Cruise's relationship with the church? You got to be more specific than that. What happens to the Clearwater lot that the city bought for the City Hall? Is there any development? Are you going to be part of Leah Remini's Season 2 show? I am going to be part of Season 2. You'll have to wait to see in what way. And no, the church, the city actually doesn't have any current plans for that lot that they purchased. In fact, they turned around and rented it back to the aquarium to use for parking. What they're going to do is knock down the current City Hall building that's next to the vacant lot. They're going to combine the lots into one giant lot. And then they're going to put it out to for an RFP, a request for proposal, to a developer to build something there, probably a giant hotel that at least everybody can use and not just the Scientologists. So that's what's going to happen there. The dog disconnector. Yes. Don't feel about the neighbor. Great story about the dog. She knows due to the 6-foot privacy fence. She had to put up the fence because she knew I was filming for Leah's show. I don't know that she knows she came up on the show. Like, she would have had to watch the fucking show to know that. And I don't know that she watched the show. I still see her almost every day around town. She rides her bike up and down my street and around the park, and I live right off the park. Do you think that the emotional tone scale has any validity? Well, you have to define have validity. What's not valid is when you can take these emotional tones and then just ascribe certain conducts to them. What's not valid is saying, if you are attracted to someone of the same sex, you are at 1.1 on the tone scale. But realize these emotional tones have names like enthusiasm, cheerfulness, boredom, antagonism, fear, apathy. These names are legitimate. I mean, these are apt descriptions of emotional states. And I think when you're auditing someone on Dianetics, this was the original use of the tone scale, is that when you're auditing someone on Dianetics and if they're going through an incident that's, where they're crying, it was supposed to be a description of how someone progressed emotionally as they went over the incident again and again and again. So like, I might get this wrong, but they might go from fear to grief to anger to boredom to mild interest to cheerfulness. That was sort of the purpose of the tone scale, was to describe how someone going through an engram would change emotionally as the effect of the engram was getting lighter and lighter and lighter. So I think there are ideas and concepts in the emotional tone scale that have some usefulness and validity. But when you talk about Hubbard's entire chart of human evaluation, which is where he takes the tone scale and he assigns attitudes and emotions and characteristics that if someone's doing this, then they're this tone level, I don't think that's valid. All right, let's see. I do not have an email. Okay, I only have one social network, and that's Facebook, which I don't use very much. Well, send it to me on Facebook. Just look me up on Facebook, Aaron Smith-Levin. And even if you only use Facebook rarely, send, whenever you're on next, try to send me the photos. That would be really interesting to see. Does Tom Cruise still have contact with Suri? This is a good question. I can't say for sure, but let's agree on some things. If Tom Cruise was still seeing Suri, then wouldn't it make sense for him to allow himself to be photographed? Like, it doesn't do him any favors to let the media keep reporting that he doesn't have any contact with Suri. So it doesn't make sense that he would be secretly in contact with Suri. Why keep it a secret? And the other day I was like, well, maybe he's doing it on the down low because he doesn't want to act, he doesn't want it to be very apparent to other Scientologists that he has special privileges. And then I had another thought. It wouldn't be a special privilege. Even in Scientology, it's like if I was a Scientologist in good standing, and if my ex-wife was a declared suppressive person, and if we had a minor child that we shared custody with, I would absolutely be allowed to see my minor child. I would not be labeled PTS because I was seeing my minor child. You still have legal responsibilities as a parent and a guardian. So here's my point. If Tom Cruise is not seeing Suri, it's not because Scientology is telling him he can't. It's because he would have fucking decided that he wanted to set an example as a super Scientologist of having nothing to do with his SPX wife. And that's something interesting to think about. Scientology would never tell someone that they were not allowed to have contact with their minor child just because custody was being shared with an ex-spouse who was a declared SP. Okay. Do you think Katie and Nicole signed NDAs? Oh, they absolutely signed fucking NDAs. That's why they don't talk. Does Scientology TV have a time frame? If it does, I don't know about it. Or is it just another superpower building? No, there will be eventually a Scientology TV, and it will be glorious. And it will it will give me material to live stream 8 hours a fucking day every day. Like, I could just play Scientology TV up in the fucking corner right here and then just comment on it all day. It would be fucking amazing. Do you think it will be as cringeworthy as the Scientology podcast they made 2 episodes of? They made a podcast? Send me a link to it at growingupinScientology@gmail.com. I was not aware they made a podcast or 2 episodes of it, and it will be extremely cringeworthy. We know Jaden didn't have a normal education because the Smiths school got shut down for secretly using applied scholastics. I'm going to correct the record on this. A school does not secretly use applied scholastics. You can't secretly use applied scholastics. If you use applied scholastics, the books say fucking applied scholastics on them. Also, applied scholastics books only cover the information that Scientology has put out on how to study. You can't learn math from an applied scholastics book. There are no applied scholastics books that teach math. There are no applied scholastics books that teach any subject other than how to use a dictionary, what are the 3 barriers to study, do you get what I'm saying? The Scientology material is about how to study. Also, applied scholastic schools don't teach Scientology. They only cover the material about how to study, which has nothing to do with Thetans, the reactive mind, OT, anything like that in any way, shape, or form. Now, I think we know Jaden didn't have a normal education because I believe he's probably been homeschooled. I don't believe Jaden and his sister went to that school that his parents owned. They opened up a charter school. I don't believe Will's kids went to that school. I could be wrong, but realize that his kids, one's a singer and one's an actor, so they probably didn't spend much time going to that school, even if they were enrolled in it. But you're right, they probably had tutors. They probably did homeschool and tutors and all that stuff. But that's also true for all these celebrity kids, and not all of them are quite as weird as Jaden and Willow. I don't mean to pick on little kids, I'm just saying. I hear Katie's 5 years NDA about the divorce lifts next month. Yeah, I would be highly suspicious of anything about that. I would be highly suspicious that there would only be a 5-year NDA. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I just don't believe it. Does Scientology have to... where'd it go? Does Scientology have a program to deal with homosexuality, like some fundamental Christian groups? Not specifically. There's no specific Scientology methods for making someone ungay. They just think that if you do the normal Scientology and Dianetics auditing that you would give to anyone else, that eventually they will stop being aberrated and stop being gay. Aberrated is Scientology's words for, messed up. The literal definition of aberrated means a curved line, a line that is not straight, a crooked line. And so no, there's no specific program to make someone ungay. They just don't let you progress up to the lower levels until you've proven that you have achieved the lower levels properly by partially demonstrating you're no longer gay. That's why Travolta's never been allowed onto the upper levels. Since the show, and Going Clear, outed the IRS on giving Scientology tax-exempt status not based on merit, do you know if the IRS has responded to this bad press? So I know that the church... that the whistleblowers have pointed out, and not even the whistleblowers, the church was very upfront about this, at least to Scientologists. The Scientologists used about 2,000 lawsuits, either 200 or 2,000, but I think it was 2,000, against the IRS to bully them into coming to the table with Scientology and begin the process that resulted in tax-exempt status. That does not mean the IRS did not give Scientology tax-exempt status based on merit. And I would push back against that statement. So, no, the IRS has not responded to the show or this bad press. And I do not expect their tax-exempt status to be revoked. Does David Miscavige believe in Scientology? He doesn't seem to follow the rules. Is he just power hungry? Okay, for right now, I'm just going to say watch my stream from yesterday. Answer this in detail. But the nutshell answer is no, he does not believe in Scientology, as evidenced from the fact that if he did, he would go out of his way to make it easier for people to go up the bridge. He would go out of his way to make it easier for all of the Sea Org members in the world to go up the bridge. Because if you truly believe in Scientology, then you believe that going up Scientology's bridge to total freedom is the one single and only hope mankind in this universe has to escape the trap. And yet he has 5,000 or 6,000 Sea Org members who do nothing but work for the church full time. And all it would take is maybe 3 years for all of them to go all the way up the bridge. And it would result in what Scientology calls a cleared planet. And the fact that he doesn't work towards that shows he doesn't truly believe that Scientology is man's only salvation, mankind's only salvation. Okay. Do you think that Clearwater downtown would be better without flag? Yeah, of course it would be better without flag, yeah. I live in Tampa and I love St. Pete downtown in Tampa, but Clearwater sucks. It's like a ghost town. It is, but I'm telling you what, it's going to get better. Now that the Sea Org members are in the flag building and they don't eat in the Clearwater Bank building anymore, so the Sea Org members aren't really going up and down Cleveland Street all the time. If some more non-Scientology businesses would come downtown, the non-Scientologists would come back downtown. I'm convinced. Just look at Clay Irwin's Lucky Anchor Bar, and his bar's been doing great, and he brings crowds, and he does well. So Mike's kids were both over 18 when he left, and that's why he couldn't see his son Benjamin. I do think he was over 18, but the reason he couldn't see his son Benjamin is because he was in the Sea Organization. That is different. Dave Miscavige looks like a little butt pirate. True. Scientology TV might compare to the Jehovah's Witnesses TV stuff, but they won't have the religious cringe, so it will be incredible. It will be incredible. What will be cringeworthy is the Scientology programming trying to act like they are super religious. That's what's going to be cringeworthy. Okay, so I guess this guy thinks I'm a Scientologist, and I guess I will have to block him. What an idiot. Unless you reported him. I would pay good money to watch you watching Scientology TV. Just like Mystery Science Theater 3000. That would be great. Love these types of videos. My granddaughter won't go to bed unless you say hello to her. Her name is Anna. Hello, Anna. Is it Anna Richardson? If Scientology's goal is to clear the world, how can any Scientologist believe that this would be possible since the vast majority of the world can't afford to be a Scientologist? You do not have to clear everyone in the world in order to have a cleared planet. If you recall, people on OT7 spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours auditing body thetans and waking them up. And in many cases, these body thetans are supposed to go clear, and then they're supposed to go off and pick up a body. So all of these body thetans that the people on OT7 are auditing and waking up are supposed to be clear and go and pick up a body. And those people are technically, even if they are not Scientologists, count towards having a cleared planet because they don't have a reactive mind. And so that's why Scientology wants to get 10,000 people auditing on OT7 doing 6 auditing sessions per day. So that would be like at least 60,000 body thetans being cleared every day. Sounds pretty fantastic, huh? Okay, let's see what's next. What is next? How old is Anna? How do I fucking block this guy? What a dick. Here we go. Block user. Okay. There we go. Go fuck off. All right. Don't non-Scientologists avoid downtown because of all the security cameras and people following them rather than because of the Sea Orgs? Well, I would say most of the non-Scientologists don't actually see the cameras. The cameras are high up on the corner of buildings. It's not like they're just fucking, cameras at like eye level. And I think that people don't come downtown because they still think there's tons of Sea Org members and Scientologists walking all over the place. When you say being followed all the time, non-Scientologists in downtown Clearwater aren't going to be followed. I think you might be referring to the security guards, the flag security guards that do walk back and forth between the buildings. Maybe that's what you're talking about. But when you say people following them, those people would be Sea Org members, right? So when you say because of all the security cameras, I would reject that because I don't think the security cameras are very obvious. And people following them, I don't think people get followed. And rather than the Sea Org. And if people were followed, it would be Sea Org members doing it. A religion that does not accept all. Yeah, it's true. But, does the Catholic Church really accept all? Do you think DM and TC are involved in a relationship? Just a bromance? No, I don't think they're getting gay with each other, if that's what you mean. Please live stream yourself watching Scientology TV. Yeah, that would be fun, you guys. Is Jacob Llewellyn? What? All right, if that's a one-off comment, we'll see. Explain how people who are 18 and below are kept in the Sea organization. I mean, if a father wants to see their kid, is that... Okay, so let me correct what I said. Yes, Ben was probably over 18 when Mike left the Sea Org. So that was the right answer. I know I said the Sea Org was different, and it's true, the Sea Org is different. But in that case, it was probably because Ben was over 18. When your minor child joins the Sea Org, you have to sign over legal guardianship to another Sea Org member so that the Sea Org isn't put into an awkward position of having a minor working for them without a legal guardian present. That legal guardian does not actually do anything and does not actually have any responsibilities, but you do put on paper, you pick a Sea Org member and they become the legal guardian. I think that answers that question. Flag security guards following and taking pictures. Yeah, flag security guards would only follow and take pictures of protesters or people wearing masks and shit. Do you think Marty Rathbun changed because he couldn't take the harassment? No, that's not the reason at all. I think he's mentally unstable. I think he was offered a lot of money. I think he was also offered to have the harassment stop, but who cares if the harassment stops? Like, he dropped a lawsuit that was going to win him millions of dollars. So even the fact that he was offered millions of dollars from the church wouldn't fully explain why he dropped the lawsuit. Do you see what I mean? The church was already under an injunction to stop the harassment, so he wasn't being harassed. And I think Marty's I think he's lost it, personally. Can I ride the ship with you and make it go fast? All right, I'm just getting a bunch of fucking idiots here. Block. Karen B. Black people are apes. Oh, what the fuck's going on here? Get the fuck out of here. Okay. David Miscavige is trolling this thread. Are you being harassed by the cult for making anti-Scientology videos? Not in an ongoing way. Although they did put up a hate website about me. I mean, does that count? But that was because I was on Leah's show. Go to Smith-Levin.com, a vicious hater, to look at the church's website. They put up about me. And on the website, you will see ample evidence that they were following me. There's information they put up there about a renovations project that Mike was doing, that I was involved with. Mike was supervising this renovations project, and I'm a real estate investor, so we were doing this, investing in this business together, or in this project together. And they had photographs of the guys who were working on the site and dug into their backgrounds and found some of them were felons. And they tried to embarrass me by outing me for actually giving jobs to, people who had been in jail. It's like these guys are so tone deaf. Providing jobs to felons who have trouble finding jobs is actually a very good thing to do. It's not like I went on to felons.com to hire people. It's like when you go on Craigslist to find day laborers for things, I guess you don't always know who you're getting. Nor should it really matter. Okay. Now you don't believe in any religion. No, I don't believe in any religion. Can't find the old podcast that I remember. We'll keep looking. Did find a new one by Stan Dublin. You mean Dubin? Which seems church-made. There's also a CCHR one. Yeah, I don't know. Don't mind chat. It's YouTube. All YouTube chats have random. Oh, yeah, got it. So, Angie, are you following the Danny Masterson case? Oh, you mean DJ rapes a lot? Sorry. I went off on Danny yesterday in the podcast. I was talking about how Danny likes to rape people. His hobby is rape. He just loves rape. When he sees someone on the street, he goes, I wonder if I can rape that person. He's a rapist. And his DJ name is DJ Rapes a Lot. So I've been following the case in the sense that I know what's happening. Yes. Let's see. I actually know Stan Dubin personally, by the way. Have any elected officials open to partnering with you guys in holding Scientology accountable? Elected officials, yes, and I cannot talk about it. Good thing with the jobs, thank you. I do want to know what's going on with Danny Masterson. So what's going on with Masterson is he rapes people. And he recently had to hire a very famous defense attorney. I think it was Michael Jackson's defense attorney. And you're going to hear a lot more about that over the next 6 months. Do a lot of people who leave Scientology become atheists? Yeah. What can non-Scientology do to help? People ask that question all the time. And I think the best answer is anything you can do to support Leah's show and get the word out helps. I think Leah's show is the most important thing happening right now with respect to exposing the abuse in Scientology and mobilizing people to maybe contact their politicians and the IRS to help do something about it. Good for you finding people who've been in jail. They need help. Yep, I agree. Stan Dubin. I know Stan Dubin. I know his daughter Chelsea Dubin. My brother used to be engaged to her and blah, 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 blah. Can you give a brief summary of what Scientology is to someone who has no clue? You've come to the wrong podcast. I would rather send you to a Scientology video to answer that question, to be perfectly honest. Okay, how about this? CO94 official. Watch the video on my channel called The Matrix, Scientology, and Disconnection. Watch that video, and then we'll talk. It's only like 30 minutes. Can you answer this question? What in the hickory dickory dock? The mouse ran up the clock. Okay, bye, Nathan. Ain't nobody got time for that bullshit. A man with no moral compass. Yeah, no moral compass. By the way, oh my God, breaking news. On that website, on the hate website, John Lundeen is one of the people that did a video about me. And just a couple days ago, I said, I remembered something. John Lundeen was my commanding officer when I was in the Sea Org. I said 4 years after I left the Sea Org, John Lundeen had to send me an apology email where he apologized for how he behaved with me in the Sea Org and acknowledged that I was a competent Sea Org executive. I'm going to figure out what to do with this email to juxtapose it with the video where he says, I never accomplished anything. I never expanded anything. I was a Jekyll and Hyde snake oil salesman. And yet I have an email from John Lundeen saying that I was a competent executive with an intention to improve conditions and generally succeeded in doing so. How about that shit? How about that shit, John motherfucking Lundeen? That 70s show me dead ass to rape. I don't want to laugh at rape jokes, but I do want to laugh making fun of Danny Masterson. Hello, Rolf. Serious question. How do you have such a positive outlook on life and people after everything you went through in Scientology? Good question. I did a video where I talk about that I tend to look at my entire experience in Scientology through rose-colored glasses or rose-colored lenses, whatever the correct phrase is. Actually, it's the video called Child Abuse in Scientology. Watch the video I put up a couple weeks ago called Child Abuse in Scientology, and it will answer that question. Okay, do you know of any celebrity Scientologists that are close to leaving the church? I feel like they're all fucking close to leaving the church, honestly. I was never involved with Scientology, but I find it fascinating. My husband and I are Mormons in recovery. The cult aspect is similar. The Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Scientologists have so much in common. It is shocking. Will you be on season 2 of Leah's show? Yes. But I won't say how. But you'll see. Was he forced to write the apology? Oh, yeah. No, he was forced to write the apology. I mean, he would have been going through when John Lundeen sent me this apology. There's something in Scientology called repair of past ethics conditions. Anyway, I won't get into it. But yes, he would have had to write the apology letter. Herbalife, seen them everywhere in Melbourne. Oh, Herbalife. By the way, have you? Herbalife actually tried to character assassinate me because I was involved in the investigation into Herbalife being a pyramid scheme with Bill Ackman. And Herbalife I'd done a bunch of research investigating Herbalife in China. And I'd done a big public presentation with Bill Ackman about Herbalife violating China's anti-multi-level marketing laws. And Herbalife put up a hate website about Bill Ackman, just like the Church of Scientology does to people. And Herbalife sent me a vicious letter from their corporate lawyers and leaked a copy of it to Fox Business and MSNBC, and who immediately ran with the story and put up the letter on their website and accused me of fraud and lies and everything. And I'm like, I'm not sure which cult is attacking me sometimes. It could be Scientology, it could be Herbalife. How much connection is between the Clearwater Police and the cult of Scientology? Okay, money is king. That's true everywhere in the world. Scientology hires police officers, off-duty police officers, to act as private security at their events. Now, you would never know they were off-duty because the law allows off-duty police officers to work private security events wearing their police officer uniforms and using their police cruisers. So the connection between the Clearwater Police and Scientology does not run any deeper than that. There's no Scientologists on the police force. It's just the fact that Scientology hires these guys to do private security for events, and the church is always fucking doing events. And there's just no way to really eliminate the effect that money has. And that's all I can say. Have you thought about writing your own book? Yes, I have. What is that poster behind you? That's the poster for Leah's television show. The child abuse in Scientology video made me cry. Well, thank you for watching it. Is your wife's family still in Scientology? Yes. You said something in the show and how bad it got. Is it still bad? Yes, she's not. Her family's not allowed to talk to her. Sorry for my English. Speak 3 languages and English is not my first. Yeah. Okay, so you must speak Spanish as your first language. Betting on Zero. Betting on Zero. I haven't seen it. I'll watch it eventually. Betting on Zero is nothing compared to the documentary that could have been made by Alex Gibney, who wanted to do a documentary on Herbalife. And I introduced Alex Gibney to Bill Ackman, and Bill Ackman decided not to do it. So there you go. Did you say she while looking at the bugs? What? I don't know what you mean. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Herbalife is Scientology. No. Betting on Zero is a poor documentary made of incredibly spellbinding material. Oh, interesting. Herbalife. Every time I see the logo on a car, I think of you. Every time I see the logo on a car, I want to take a picture. Do you work in the Men in Black? All right, I'll ignore that. Your head is brighter than my future. Yeah, my head gets so oily. I have to... Sometimes I'll jump in the shower like twice a day. Ugh. The other thing is, I keep my house at 70 degrees because if it gets up to 73, I start sweating. And if I start sweating, my skin gets oily and it gets shiny and it drives me crazy. Senator Chuck Grassley did an incredible work to pressure some of the Christian megachurch pastors to justify their expenses a few years back. It might be a good ally. Maybe. Is it true that Tom Cruise left Scientology during his marriage with Nicole? Yes. And then returned once they got divorced. No, they got divorced because he returned. Marty Rathbun helped facilitate that divorce. Where can I find other live streaming? Oh, like the ones from yesterday? Just go to the YouTube channel, Growing Up in Scientology, and go to videos, either home or videos. And you'll see them there. They'll be there under just, the most recent videos. Okie dokie. Well, it's 11:40. I have a flight at the ass crack of dawn in the morning, so I should probably check off. This has been a lot of fun. And look, I'm going to try to do this as close to daily as I can. Have you ever known someone that is still in Scientology that you bombed to in the street and would like to save them or talk to them? I kind of reject the idea that people have to be saved from Scientology, but we can tackle that next time. All right, guys, have a wonderful night, and it's been fun talking to you, and we'll do it again soon. Bye-bye.